Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I'm here with Pia and Cullen. It's March 2nd. Welcome to the show, Pia and Cullen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I thought I would just, we were talking backstage, and I thought I would just start recording because I want the audience to be able to hear, this important information of what we're talking about right now. And by the way, I just want to say that your sound is great, and I like the close-up, how close you are. So the visual is great. Just so pay attention to where you guys are right now, how your setup is, and come back with that setup again next month.
Okay.
Awesome. So, in the backstage, we were just talking how, we're here every month to come on to have these quantum conversations about consciousness and about how we're evolving here on Earth and what's going on, to share our experience and to, hopefully offer something of value here to you, the audience, so that you can feel like you're not alone, and that, yep, there is a purpose to this crazy, insane, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous madness on this planet, and that we are in the process of restoring peace. We are, even though, the appearances sometimes don't show us that. And for those of us that have been holding the line for a long time, it can get pretty exhausting. So we were talking backstage about these last few weeks. And so Pia and Cullen, why don't you share again, Pia, why don't you start about where you were, and then Cullen, what you shared, if you can remember that far back.
I think we can handle that.
Cool.
We've been having disrupted sleep, intermittent ups and downs, physical symptoms all over the place. Start to do something and then have no idea what we're going to do. Start to think something and the thought's gone halfway through it. It's just really strange. What I said a few moments ago is just call me Alice, because the world is getting curiouser and curiouser.
That's cute. I like that. We'll call Alice is your nickname. Yeah, Alice. That's cute. I like that. Yeah, I get it. I get it. What about you, Cullen?
Well, I would agree with what Pia has just explained. We've had what I would call a pretty abnormal energetic experience for the last couple of weeks. And it's certainly not just the last couple of weeks, but it seems to be intensified lately. Mm-hmm. And there are just things that don't work as smoothly as they used to. And I'm certainly not asking for the normality that so many people around the world are saying, can't we just go back to normal? We're never going back to normal, because that was part of the illusion anyway. We don't want to go to a place where people were too complacent, people were too agreeable to things that they were told that simply weren't the truth. So I don't mean I want to go back to normal, but this situation that we seem to be experiencing is, I guess I could say, stranger and stranger. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's entering a new place, a new zone of realizing that we're changing, and that where we're going, we have no familiarity with. We're going to a new energetic understanding of what it's like to be the new humans, to truly be who we are, without all of the edifices, all of the things that have kept us from being transparent in the first place.
The other thing that I would add to that is we are keenly aware that we are changing dimensions. Sometimes it's sort of like we're in a fog and we don't really know where we are. At other times, it is really clear that there's bleed through from another dimension that's coming into this one. I don't know how to explain that exactly, except to say, in a dream state, a vision state, or a waking state, it doesn't really matter. I can have vivid, I'll call them memories, but they haven't happened here in this dimension. but there's a vivid memory of this and this and this just happened. And yet in this dimension here right now, it didn't. And sometimes we'll get confirmation from somebody that there's an alignment somehow that shows this was connected. Other times we have no idea, but we do clearly know we're traveling between dimensions a lot.
Yeah. And that, the more that we embrace our multidimensionality, the more we embrace and live in that and be in that and realize that, then we can offer that understanding, at least, there it is, there's things happening in other dimensions. I love that. Is that what's your new book about, Pia?
It's a book of spiritual short stories to help people who have not read the Lartma books, or maybe even if they have read the Lartma books, have a different perspective on this awakening that is possible for all of us. Because we are entering into a territory where humanity's never been before.
Yeah.
So the new book is all about different versions of short stories that tell what's happening, what we're going through, how to approach it, how to deal with it differently. And they're kind of fun. They are fictional. They're fictional. They're stories. So they have characters, and I've interwoven things that we've heard from clients through the years, from things from personal friends, our own experiences, lots of pulling from different places to create these stories. But
yeah, I love that. We need that. We need the fun. We need the fun. Definitely need the fun, and we need some laughter. That's
Yes.
what I feel like. We need some laughter and fun. How I always come and bring us a quote every month. This time I was inspired to bring the quote from your book, the Palladian Manual. This one here. Right, and right in the front of the book it says, let me put my glasses on. I thought this was the perfect quote for today. It talks about how this book is dedicated to all of the light bearers who have used their courage and perseverance in working to evolve and create a better world. Heightening our vibration has been essential in the evolutionary process towards unity consciousness. And so I love that, because it gives me just the chills, because it is important that we remember, especially right now during these times, like you both have said in your message this morning, in that, in our evolution, it is unfamiliar. We're going to places that we've never been before, and bringing our physical bodies up into that higher vibrational way of living and being. And that requires a lot of courage. And
also,
right, go ahead.
We're also stepping in on March the 9th. We're stepping into the period of enlightening energy. And I'll share a quote with you from the Pleiadian Earth Energy Calendar. Enlightening energy brings the world the chance to achieve multiple perspectives at once, helping to lift the consciousness of humanity. That's a Lartma quote, but that's the energy that we're stepping into on the 9th of March, and it carries us through the equinox, where all kinds of idealistic things are possible, and where we have the opportunity to have a higher vibratory perspective of whatever's going on. The lower end of that energy is being very judgmental. And I'm certain that we will see a lot of judgmental things in the world around us. But those of us who are working with the light, and as you said, have been holding this position for a long, long time, this energy comes right on the heels of remembering energy, which is a peaceful energy to help us remember who we are. So we're in a period right now where we get to remember who we are, lasting through till the 8th of March. And then on sunset on the 8th, we step into the enlightening energy, which is a perfect back-to-back evolutionary leap. It's a portal.
Yeah.
It's a good portal that we're experiencing right now. So no wonder we feel so weird.
Yeah, totally. I know, right? That's really good, because I feel like right now we are, in a process of stepping again. I think when we first started doing these series, I talked about, that what I'm feeling, and I know that you guys are in that alignment as well, and that is that we're moving beyond duality, right? Living beyond duality on this planet. So not the extreme polarization that we're seeing played out right now, but living beyond it. And us light bearers, light workers, light ascension guides, whatever you want to label us, right? In that way, we are those anchors, bringing that, embodying that energy, and that is the quantum creation now, and to create and manifest from a place of not, like in the old world, we manifested from, or we created from effort, like efforting, like push, work, do, that whole thing. And now, beyond duality, we are working with no effort, with, creating and manifesting from that place. And to actually embody that, this is the practice now, is to not create from the efforting, but to create from ease, and
Yes.
to create from ease, to create from that inner intuition, to create from that relaxation,
Yeah.
from that relaxation of the high frequency energy that we have embodied now. And that is the peace, and the gratitude, and the joy, and the love, to create from that place. And the mental body to be in alignment with that, right? So this is what I feel like, it's perfect, Pia, that you said that we're moving into this enlightening energy. And now we can take this practice of creating from a place of not efforting, of no time, and even logic,
Yes.
even letting logic go. It's not logical. It's not based on time. It's not based on, it's beyond duality. And so that's the new earth, right? That's the new human. And this is what we're working on now.
What you're talking about, what you're suggesting in the difference between the trying, and absolutely thinking that we have to work so hard to achieve what we want to achieve, that has actually become what many would call an old paradigm of thinking or understanding. And what you're suggesting is that we live in a space of grace and flow instead. Because if we're in a space of grace and flow, there isn't any resistance. We're just in that place or that space where we allow things to happen. Instead of trying to make them happen, we simply allow them to happen, because the universe is always on our side. The universe is there to support us. And if we step into that, I guess, ability to live within grace and flow, things move much more easily. The experience of synchronicity, the experience of things just coming together, simply flow. They just appear, and there's no effort. And that is a very, very big change in how we've been trying to understand how things work. So what you were describing is really important. And there's one more thing I want to say about what you said a moment ago also. You brought up the word courage.
Yeah.
And I think that topic, that idea is extremely important right now, because we all have to use courage to step away from belief systems that don't work, habits that we have relied on and worked through for our entire lives. It takes courage to actually look at who we've been, how we've been doing what we've been doing, and use that courage to step into a completely new arena of possibility rather than challenge. So I think by you bringing up that word courage, I think it's extremely important that people understand that.
I think I'm going to go back to Alice in the Wonderland also, because we are in an underworld. We're in a wonderland that everything doesn't look the same like it did any longer. And it took Alice an extreme amount of courage to be able to face the Red Queen and say, what, we're not going to put up with this anymore, and to make her passage through to where she needed to be. That's exactly where all of us are right now.
Yeah, and I totally am in relating to everything that you're saying. This new shift, this new place that we're in right now, that it's totally unfamiliar, and it's uncertain. It's uncertain, it's unfamiliar, and it is requiring that courage, to remember that courage. I'm in that space right now, and I'm in a huge shift. And sometimes I laugh when I say the word huge, because am I exaggerating the huge? Uh, I feel like it's Jupiter style huge. It's like huge, like massive huge, right? I'm in this huge place. Like I said to you before we came on the call today, last week I wouldn't have been able to do this call because I was deep in transmutation last week. Huge. Here I go again. And I'm past it now, but last week while I was in it, there was nothing else. I didn't have the voice. I didn't have the energy. I didn't have I didn't even have the words to articulate where I was. And so, in that space, I just, my process over the years has always been to dive deeply into it, and to bring a divine mother, my inner mother, the divine mother, into that space, and be fully present with the energy that is there, and not push through it, or not whatever. It's just being with it, to really be the witness to what's there.
Do you feel a little bit like sharing some of the symptomology of your experience?
Yeah, and I actually, I write, which the other thing is that was really interesting is that I've had a writer's block for 2 weeks. I could not write. I had no inspiration. And so I actually have a membership site where I do daily blogs. Every day I talk about, I put high vibrational frequency energy, or I share, different things. And so that my community then can, work with their own cycles, with their own energy, right? So these people are all in a paid membership, and so I actually had to tell them that right now I can't write, and so they had to be okay, right, with there's not going to be any information right now. So I had to be okay with that, and really just let it all go.
A gestation period. If they want something produced, there has to be allowed a gestation period.
Exactly. And so that's basically, where we all were, and they get to decide on how they want to move forward, right, from that place. So I want to exit the full screen here, and I want to share with you what some of the things, because after I go through an experience like that, then I can bring my wisdom and consciousness and words to it once I get through it. But while I'm in the middle of the fire, if you will, there's nothing to do but be with it, right? So that was basically the work. And I, it's again, I found myself digging my own grave again. It's like, being that inner shaman, taking out the shovel and start digging the grave, so that you can release and let go of everything that's no longer serving, the old toxic life that has to be released and let go, and be willing to just start digging and celebrating even the digging while you're grieving and crying and, doing that, So let me pull up and share with you here. I'm going to share my screen. Let me make sure that I have the right thing present, and then I can share with you a little about what that experience was about. Let's see. And I just articulated this energy this past Sunday and Monday, where I wrote it up and shared it so that I can realize my own self, right? Because that's usually how it works for me, or my process has worked, is that being fully surrendered in the experience of life, in no matter what it is, and being fully present and being the witness to it and not judging it as wrong or bad. It just is. For some reason, my page is not coming up, so I'm gonna let it see if it'll load while we're talking.
Well,
And
while you're doing that, I want to go back to the idea of courage again. What you're talking about is about having the courage once again to be in that process instead of walking away from it because it may be difficult, or walking away from it because it's not pleasant. That is and I'm going to use your word, that's a huge effort to put into a transformative experience, because many people are not willing to truly look at themselves and experience what you're talking about. They would rather immerse themselves in a habitual pattern, or go shopping, or watch TV, or do anything to keep that pain, or to keep that deep introspection truly moving us somewhere through it where we need to get to a healing or a more, I guess, enlightened place about ourselves. So once again, courage is important in truly facing that kind of experience. And I think many people are not willing to do that.
yes, and that's what's really needed to, why do you think that, Colin? Why do you think that many people are not willing to do that? Why do you think that is?
I think it's really a single, very important thing. I think they don't want to live in that pain. They don't want to live in that realization that there's something holding them back there, whether it's a traumatic experience. Are we still with you?
You're with me. Can you
Okay.
see?
We've got your,
Can you see that I have something on the screen?
Yep. Yeah, we can see it. We blanked out there for a minute.
Okay. So, but basically what you're saying is that we've talked about this before, I think, is that we talked about it before, is that in order to really feel, to get to the other side of something, you have to be able to be willing to feel the pain.
Absolutely.
We talked about this before, and I think that's what you're referring to right now. The reason that people don't want to do it is because they would much rather go shopping or, follow their addictions, if you will, rather than going in and doing this work, right?
I'll take it one step further and say that you're both exactly right. They would rather do something that doesn't hurt so much, but underlying that, I don't want to do it because it hurts, is a single element of fear. They're afraid that it's going to hurt worse to go into it with courage and look at it, that it already hurts when they even think about it. So the fear is a huge element.
Good, that's good. So this past week, like we were talking already. So here I've got my post up, and I called it A New Life, A New Body, A New World. And basically I talked about how last year I felt the panic of the collective death cycle in the second week of January and February, before COVID was even announced. And here we are again with yet another collective round of clearing and purifying of energies. I found myself in the womb of the mother, with a yearning so deep for me to recall my innocence again, to give birth to the new me in order to carry on with the original blueprint, to activate the womb of life, to give birth to the new self once again, choosing life, choosing to be here now, choosing the original sovereign. This transmutation was, here we go again, so huge. And at the time I had no words for it. Yet all I was able to do was to be. present with the skills I've developed over the Ascension decade, the medicine of the divine feminine, and that is holding space. Holding space for myself, for the collective as I dig my grave, so to speak, and to say goodbye to a life that needed karmic cleansing at the deepest level, and knowing that the ascension evolution is happening no matter what. After years of being my own inner shaman and dying thousands of deaths, still to this day, dying while alive is hard to do. And I think that's why, Colin, I wouldn't have been able to meet last week, because I was dying again. And, you know, during that time, there's nothing to do but surrender to that process. And there's no energy to talk, really. It's like, no, I had no inspiration. I had no anchor, no purpose, feeling aimless, no motivation, feeling as if this life, my life, has no value, feeling insecure and feeling uncertain about all. I was not able to focus, feeling powerless, feeling completely victimized, as though someone had added me to a list with nowhere to belong. This is the energy of the collective that's being cleared now. And soon other people may find themselves here. So that was part one of what I was experiencing. And now I'm going to share with you part two of this. And part two is, and what's really awesome about what I did here is last year I did not articulate my experience of the collective death cycle that I was experiencing in mid-January. You know, during that time, I didn't articulate it. I was in it, but I didn't articulate it until now. I was inspired to, again, going from a place of no inspiration to then inspiration, right? This is the piece which I think is really important for us to share with the audience now. And that is, you will get to the other side, but first you have to deal with what is ahead, what is right here, and what is right here. And that's what requires the courage that Colin is talking about, and why this is so important is because if you are feeling the fear of whatever that fear is, feel it, go into it, dive into it deeply, fully. Because once you bring your physical body into that space of the pain, of the whatever it is, and then feel that fully, and you will come through it to the other side. You will come through it. And the other side, then the new life will be born. Then you will give birth again. And that new life and that new seed will be born again. So here is where I was last Thursday. She called to ask me the question, "How are you?" I truthfully replied, "I'm not sure. I have no words." She listened deeply as I tried to speak and offered me her softness. She did for me what I have done for her many times, she said. And the next morning, I awoke to this message from her, which really soothed my soul. Because remember, guys, is that I am the person that has overcome suicide. And right now, suicide is at an all-time high in the world. I mean, I think it's up 300% from what it used to be. So suicide is a huge piece where people are feeling like they want to die and they want a way out, so they kill themselves. And that's the part that people don't realize, that you don't want to kill yourself. What you want to do is kill the pain. And that you want to be that shaman that I'm talking about here, right here with this experience, and that you want to, you know, release the pain, feel the pain, dive deeply into the pain, release the old life through your physical experience, release it, let it go, you know, grieve it, you know, cry about it, rage about it, whatever it is, but definitely not cause violence to yourself and cause violence to the truth of who you are. Because the truth of who you are is magnificence, absolutely magnificence, amazing consciousness, source creation. That is who you are, the empowered creator. And what you want to do is you want to let that toxic human, that old human, die so that you can be here, because you came here for this amazing life. So She had to remind me because I felt all the things I said to you, aimless, no motivation, no any of these things. So the next morning I woke up and she said, never forget all the amazing work you have gifted others. And because she was a little bit concerned about me, because she knows that, you know, what's going on with Kornelia. Where is Kornelia? What is she doing? And so she reminded me, never forget the amazing work you've gifted others and contributed to the ascension process, all the love you've shared and how happy and trusting you've inspired, and what a star you've shined upon us. You have this in escrow, and trust that all will be revealed and rewarded in the universe's mysterious timing. In the meantime, it's perfectly or even necessary to take a break from the sandbox. From this place of not being in the sandbox, some of you reached out because I stepped out. I stopped giving my energy, and I was curious to even find that it does matter. It was hard to move because I didn't feel the fire. I didn't have the will. I didn't feel the warrior. I didn't have the fight. I was sitting with the victim. I needed to allow the victim to feel this energy completely dissolve, while fully diving into the victim, and at the same time still holding space for the empowered sovereign to come back. And so closing out this karmic cycle of 2020, February 2021, closing out the karmic cycle of 2020, the spiritual and emotional healing, releasing and purifying the toxic collective victim on this ascension journey home. Out of my book, Remember the Victim Energy is a Core Wound, and the opposite of the victim is the empowered sovereign creator. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, was my experience, you know, and I tell you, I had no laughter, I had no joy, I had none of this energy. I would not have been able to do this call last week because I was busy tending to the dying of the old that needed to be completely released. And we know that the work that we do on ourselves, what we do for ourselves, we do for all. And once that new space has been created, then we can be with others who are then finding themselves in that space, because that's the energy that ripples out. Is that your experience?
Yes, I would say absolutely.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Not exactly your story, but we can definitely resonate with the dying of the old things falling apart.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cullen.
Well, you finish your thought.
I was going to say that a lot of our process seems to be coming more at the physical level as we notice it than at the mental or emotional level. It's a noticing what's going on in the physical. For instance, we have had the simultaneous experience a lot lately of being walking along, and all of a sudden our ankles don't want to work, or all of a sudden there will be electrical pains. That's not right. It's not electrical pain. It's an energy, an energetic sensation coming up our legs from the ground, up our legs. And then it feels like we're not even on the ground anymore. I don't know where we are, but we're not walking in our perceived way of walking. We're interdimensionally traveling, and we're aware of what's happening in the third dimensional body, but we're somewhere else in another dimension simultaneously, and we can feel it and relate to it at an energetic level. So that's one of the things that we're experiencing at an increased level.
Yeah. Well, something I wanted to say that I gained from what you just explained about your experience. People, almost all humans are afraid of death. It's a really, I would say, a sad and unusual situation where people really believe that death is the end of who we are. And obviously that's not the case, because consciousness never dies. Consciousness moves on forward, ever moving in a spiral of more evolutionary understanding. And what you said about little deaths is really important in this understanding about what people think about the final death. If people would go through periodically little deaths, which we all need to do, because we all need to shed, as we've been speaking today, about the things that don't work, the toxic experiences, the sense of no self-worth, all of the things you explained. All humans go through this. And if we could utilize the system of little deaths and having the courage, and I'm going to keep using that word today, having the courage to have those little deaths, to strip away anything and everything that no longer works. If people would utilize the understanding of little deaths to get closer and closer to who we truly are, that would alleviate the huge misunderstanding and the huge sadness around what people think the final death is. So
The fear of death.
the fear of death. So what I'm trying to
And
say,
the fear of loss of someone else who has died also.
so what I'm trying to say is what you employed, what you've just explained about utilizing little deaths, it's enormous. It is huge, because that allows us to understand what death, from most people's sense of fear, is really misaligned and misunderstood. So what you went through and what you've explained is enormously important, and people can absolutely change their lives by doing what you just explained and experiencing what you've just experienced.
Well, you know what, too? I was just thinking when you were talking, Colin, this, whole piece about dying 1,000 deaths and how I mentioned suicide. I do want to look up the, what the statistic is nowadays, but I know it's like ridiculous. And so the whole point that I'm again making is that, when people get so fed up, like if I wouldn't have had the tools or the awareness with the energy that was present this past week with what I was dealing with, clearing and purifying, whatever, I could totally see that a person could take action on that energy and take their life based on that, based on those feelings. Because if you don't feel any motivation, if you feel no value, if you feel no you're no anchor, no, there's nothing, right? There's no fire, there's no will, there's no, all these things that were present, that I was sitting with with the energy. And there wasn't tears, it wasn't about the emotional body like you were mentioning, Pia. I was just present with this energy that was just completely flat. And this, I feel like this is the energy in the collective now, that is out there, that is completely flat, that needs to be cleansed and purified, so that we can then come again, this beautiful period that you're talking about, Pia, right now, that we're heading into enlightenment, that we're heading into this enlightening period right now, and that we use this beautiful new fire, this beautiful courage, this beautiful new life, new body, from that place of creation, that we're creating from that new place. But first we had to, we have to release the old. And the only way that I've ever found that it works is, through dying those little deaths. And this has been my process. And I feel like that we are all shamans, and that we all can do that inner work in dying and letting go and letting go and letting go and letting go. Because really, truly, we've had to let go of everything that we have thought to be true that was a lie.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And you've said two things that are really, really important. You said just now about the death, that we have to go through it. And as a clinical psychologist, I can't tell you how many times I have sat with clients and said, the only way through it is through it. You can't go around it. You can't go over it. You can't go under it. The only way to get to where you want to be is to go through it. And that's exactly what you're talking about, and what Cullen was talking about. The other thing that you said that I found really important is you said, I just lost it. Hold on, it'll come back. That's happening a lot lately these days. Yeah. Oh, the other thing that you said was about not taking your life, that what you want to end is the pain, not the life. And that's what suicide victims oftentimes do not understand. I will share with your listening audience, I have died 3 times in this incarnation. Twice of those times in a hospital have been declared legally dead. The third time it happened, Colin said, here we go again, and just sat with me until I came back. But what I have come to learn is death is just a swinging door. We move from one dimension into another dimension, and then we come back again if we come back, or we stay if we don't come back. But it's just a swinging door. So all the people in the world that are saying, I'm going to kill myself because it hurts too bad, killing yourself does not stop the pain. It only changes the dimension where you're experiencing the pain. That's it.
Yeah, Pia and I have been through dealing with people who are suicidal, and we know they feel trapped, and trapped is a really good description because they truly do feel trapped. And in talking with them and trying to communicate exactly what Pia just described, that all they will be doing is altering the dimensional experience of who they are and where they will be. They won't stop the actual experience of whether they feel trapped, victimized, hurt, sad, whatever it is.
Pain's got to go with them.
It will follow them with their consciousness at the time of the consciousness that they were in when they decided to take their lives. They're just going to take that baggage with them. And
that's called personal self-karma.
Yes.
Exactly.
There's another thing that Larkma tells people all the time publicly, and they say, if you want to ascend, and you can either ascend through death or you can ascend into a rainbow body with your form, whatever path you choose of ascension. If you want to have a happy death or a happy ascension, be happy now. Get rid of your shadows, go through the trauma, live it, and raise your vibration, and then your death is nothing to fear. You'll have a happy death, or you'll have a happy ascension, taking your body with you. But if you're sitting here going, oh my God, hurry up, I can't wait for it to be over with, it's not going to be a happy process. And it is a process.
Yeah. And I think that it is a process. And that's why, like last week, the last couple of weeks where I was, it was a buildup. Like it had started showing itself like in that first week where it was started like showing and I was heading towards it. And then when it finally got to the point, it was just like, that's when I was just like, shut it down, get the shovel, start digging. And, during that time, and it's like, wow, and then to bring my compassion, to bring my being to that space of, okay, now, and the mind always wants to know, is it going to be okay? What's going to happen in the future? What are they going to say? What's going to, all these things, but you have to be able to, totally let ask, the mental body to, be quiet. And this is, again, a process too, is allowing your heart always to have leadership, always let the heart be in the lead, and allowing the, long ago, I had asked my, when I was working with my ego at the time where we were making the switch back in the day, right? And the switch was, telling my ego that, I've never been one to believe that, the ego needs to be trashed or needs to be, talked to in a negative way or whatever. I've always been kind and compassionate to my ego and said, okay, you've been in charge all these years, kept me safe and done all the wonderful things that we've done. And now, we're going to switch it up. And now I'm going to be allowing the heart to be in leadership. And I have no idea what that looks like. And I have no idea what we're going to do, but it's going to require that courage that Colin was talking about. It's going to require that. And it's going to require that, that we trust. And you, the ego, you cannot be screaming in my head, like, I want my candy now. You know, I want my whatever that is now. I got to have it. You know, so in the beginning, I used to work with the ego in like, you know, for the next 90 days and for the next 30 days and for the next like that until, slowly making that shift. And it's been a huge process. And then because the ego always wants to do its job, and that is, to keep you safe, because that's how it's been programmed and what it's been programmed to do. And
Yeah.
now to live as the new surrendered new human, the organic, authentic human that isn't about a plan, that is in harmony with nature, and here for this uncertain evolution that we're all here to, experience, to rise up into higher vibrational ways of living and being, and not knowing how it's all going to turn out, trusting.
Yep. We simply have to make friends with our egos. The ego is not a negative part of us. The ego is, as you said, it's a necessary element. The ego keeps us safe. The ego uses logic in helping us understand, don't do this, it's dangerous. Try another way of doing this. The ego is actually a guiding force. It's just that what you said is super duper important. We can't let the ego rule who we are. The ego wants to rule. And what we have to do is just say, yes, I understand that you're very helpful, you're essential. However, I am going to let my heart be in the driver's seat. You could be the co-pilot. We're perfectly happy with that. However, you are not going to put your hands on the steering wheel all the time. And I loved an experience I had years and years and years ago. I was in an audience with Ram Dass.
Oh.
I used to listen to him. I lived in a place where he used to come and speak once a year. And this is a really funny story. I could spend the rest of our time together on this. I won't. But he said, here's what I figured out about my ego. He said, if it tries to get above my kneecaps, I keep a stick always ready, and I give it a little tap. If it gets above my kneecaps, I will not allow it to come further up into my body. And I thought that was a really humorous, really, really good way of understanding the ego's there, it's part of us, and it is essential. However, we cannot let it take over. And the way he explained that in a much longer story, I thought was just, it was marvelously beautiful the way he explained it. And I think that's what we have to do. We have to welcome the ego. We have to work with the ego, but its job is not to rule us. Its job in itself is to recognize that the heart is the energy, the ruling factor. And if it wishes to work with the heart, that's terrific. That would be ending the duality between ego and heart, and that would create a better whole right there in itself. So we have to respect the ego, but not let it take the dominant, predominant part of who we are.
Exactly.
There's
Exactly.
something else that we have to acknowledge also. And a lot of people will ask us about what our ascension symptoms are, and we're very open about sharing. Well, we don't feel very good a lot of the time, or this is happening, or that's happening, or we had this amazing experience, whatever it is, we're very open about that. But one thing that's really important is for everybody to recognize that each person's ascension path is theirs, and they're not going to look alike. Even though Cullen and I are so intertwined, we often have similar identical symptoms. That doesn't happen every day. Sometimes he's doing one thing and I'm doing another. And you've told us your story of your way. And there is no right way to do this.
Right.
The only thing that is the path is staying on the path and recognizing that the only way through it is through it. Killing yourself won't take away the pain, and letting the heart rule.
That's so good. That's so good, Pia. Yeah, letting the heart rule. And the piece that what you just said with, you know, each person is on their own path. This is important. This is so true. And you know how I was sharing in my experience, there were feelings of no value, like my life has no value. And so I want to bring this back to the audience, and that is this, that if you have feelings of no value, because we were just talking about everybody's being on their own path. And so if you have feelings of no value, those feelings need to be released. And then the way that you experience value is by taking action in valuing yourself.
Yes.
And that is how now you have that in escrow, because now you've deposited that energy into the cell, into the fractal. It is now in there, in the grid, whatever you want to call it, it's now there. And the way I did it, I shared it in my writing. I shared my experience, that I value what I just felt, what I just experienced. I value it. Then I sit down. First of all, taking so much time to be with all of it, that takes a lot of time. And then to actually sit down and write it and make sure it's edited and that it's all perfect too, and then share it here with you. So this is bringing the value of the experience, and this is bringing the honor of your own unique essence of what your life is, what however you choose to express it, but that it has value, not because someone is telling you it has value, but because you acted in the value.
Yes.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. This is a really interesting topic to discuss. The inner work is the most important work at this time. The working on the inner planes is absolutely the most important thing we can be doing. By working on ourselves, we're working, as you said earlier at the beginning of this conversation, we're working on everyone else. It ripples out. And there's been an interesting thing that P and I have noticed over the years. People who spend a lot of time working on themselves look like they're doing nothing. They actually look like they're still, or they're in a space of just doing absolutely nothing that's either important or valuable, when other people look at them while they're in this space of working on themselves. And it's really tragic, because when we work on ourselves, it's the most important work in the universe. And when other people judge by observing that it looks like we're just sitting there, we're not producing anything, we're not being productive, it's really a shame that they don't understand that we're doing the work of the universe, and that we're the busiest people doing what we're doing.
My
And
God.
it's essential
Yeah.
to understand this, because we can look like we're still, or we're asleep, or we're motionless, or whatever it is, or even that we're so emotionally involved that we're not aware of what's going on in the outer world. And that's absolutely not the case. And I wish truly from the deepest part of my heart that people could see that those who are doing their deepest work are not only the busiest, but the most productive people on this planet, and maybe everywhere in the universe. And that is something that is totally misunderstood by those who are not doing the personal work, but they're thinking that, oh, I'm so busy, I'm doing really important things out there. You know, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a stockbroker. Well, it doesn't really matter. The inner work is the work.
Yeah, and you know, you've just given me again, added so much value to what I just talked about, what I experienced. You added so much value onto it because of this consciousness that you are offering in this, and that is because it's the truth. It's the truth. It's absolutely the truth. The inner work, the realization that that deep work that it takes to be still and to be with something, to feel, to be present, to witness, to contemplate, to be in all of that, that to bring that higher consciousness in this state of being today, with all of the chaos in the world, of the destruction of everything that we also know to be true, of the, you know, all the crimes against humanity, you know, and we could list them, you know, what they all are. And there's a lot. There's so much. There's so much. You know, one of the things I wanted to talk about today, which we're not going to get to, but we'll get it the next time. But I'm going to just point it out here because I've been a little bit consumed with this also lately. And that is the human child trafficking that has been going on this planet for, you know, forever, for a long time. And so this is also something, but talking about, again, the crimes of humanity, to be present with all of that, and to bring our love, to bring our understanding, to bring our physical body into that experience, and to come back into the place of peace, the place of sovereignty, the place of wholeness, the place of joy, the place of, I choose to be here. I want to be here now. I want to give birth to myself. So even if I found myself in the womb of my mother, where she really clearly didn't want me, even though I felt that, in my adult awaking life, one day I had to clear that out, that in the womb I wasn't wanted. And so then what do? Well, I'm not going to continue on playing that storyline out. I'm going to give birth to me because I want me.
That's important.
That's
very important.
That's essential in valuing ourselves.
The other thing about, you're talking about the crimes against humanity. The other thing, just to say briefly, to tie this together, Larkma says that the work on the inner planes that we're doing, as Cullen just said, it's what's more important than what's going on in the outer world, but it's actually what's going to change things. I can tell you that today, Cullen and I had some errands we had to do and some things that we needed. And we kept going to place after place and they didn't have what we needed. And it's very essential and we couldn't find it. And we had a choice. We could have gotten frustrated and said, why don't they have it anymore? But we didn't. Instead, we said, something will happen. And we were driving down the street and intuitively, we got a place that might know what we needed. So we stopped and they said, no, we don't have it, but it's across the street, a place we'd never seen before. And as we bought that and came home with it, I thought, you know, all the energy that we and others put into the what if we can't find this and we really need this, or what if the government does this and we don't want to do it, all that what if energy that's put out in a bad way, if we just trust that there will always be something that pops up that helps us, that's work on the inner planes too. And that does actually manifest into the outer planes.
And that is all about trust.
Yes.
That is all about trust, that not a naive sense that, oh, someone will take care of us. We don't mean that, but we mean that if we keep a positive attitude and if we keep a sense of openness, as Pia just said, something will show up. Something, it may not be what we expected. It might be a different product. If we're speaking of actual products, it might be a different product with a different name or a different label, but it might actually be a better product than what we were looking for or what we were used to. So it's the belief in possibility that encourages these things to happen.
Alice in Wonderland. I try to do, I try 6 impossible things every day before breakfast.
That's cute. All before breakfast. Yeah, I love that. I love that. You know, this whole thing about, I was thinking about what you just said about trust the last couple of days, and really contemplating that, contemplating trust again. And basically, when is trust applied? Well, trust certainly isn't applied during the time when everything is going well and all is great. When is trust applied? When is the being asked to apply trust and bring trust and embody trust and live trust? Well, during the times when it's uncertain, when it's not clear, when the path isn't clear, when something that you had counted on or had expectations about, or or even the things that are said out in the global community of financial resets and all kinds of things that are out there, governmentals and all these things. But again, what it comes down to is our own individual unique essence of empowered sovereign creation,
Yes.
right? And that we are the ones that we've been waiting for, and we are the ones that are embodying the trust in this eternal cellular now moment.
The Pleiadians tell us that it's very easy to keep your vibration high when things are going your way. Everything's going exactly like you want it to. It's really easy to be in a high vibration, but the trust has to be applied to keep that vibration high when things aren't going your way, when you don't feel very well, when you can't find what you want, when your expectation wasn't met. That's when the trust has to be applied to keep your vibration high anyway. And that again is doing the work on the inner planes.
And there's a corollary to that also. When we're feeling like we're in the middle of a crucible, when we're in the middle of the fire, even though we're doing personal work, even though we're doing deep work, sometimes within that process, if we take a break, if we take a breath and realize that, yes, I'm deeply in this process, I'm deeply doing this work, which is ultimately important. At the same time, in order to alleviate part of this sense of no self-worth, no will, no interest in anything like you have described, if at that point we find that we can do something to help someone else or help a situation, if we can do something that actually makes a difference in the world, as we know we have already, if we do something in that moment, taking a break from the process, not that the process is over, nor is the process finished or we're just not wanting to face it. I'm talking about a different level of work. If we do something that's helpful or uplifting for someone else or another situation, that can also help buoy us up and get us to the point where maybe we can do that personal work from a higher vibratory place. And that will help the entire process of what we're trying to do, of actually going through the little death and actually facing what's going on internally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I really feel like that's where personally I am right now, because I'm still extremely raw and tender. I feel really like what I'm doing right now, my output of energy, like you said, these workers that the people that do this inner work, they're the busiest people on the planet, because the consciousness that's always required, the responsibility of consciousness that's required to be brought into that present moment, that's why it's so busy, is because we're evolving consciousness. That's why we're here, to raise the consciousness and bring that source energy into that present moment, that highest truth, that all of that, right? And while we're also being present to the old human that is now dying away. How you said that, I lost my train of thought. So there it is. That's just how it goes. It's gone. There it is. So you guys are so lucky because you two have each other. You two, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. You two have each other. You are anchors for each other. You support each other. I've been living alone now for the last year, and I do notice the difference in not having my person that was such a beautiful anchor for me, and what a difference it has made in my life, that, I really miss that. And I think, part of you know, what we miss as humanity now too is our communities, you know, our deep communities, you know, our socialization, coming together and building our communities now. And this was a deep yearn too for me, is that community living, and now getting busy and building and hammering things in, and you know, doing things like that. So I'm looking forward to what's coming. But why don't we do a recap and then close out for today's show? So, you know, we talked about early on, Pia, you mentioned that we're moving into the energy of enlightenment. So maybe you can touch on that again, and then we'll just go do a round robin of the points to remember.
Well, since we've been talking about a lot of heavy things, I'll talk about the lower end of the enlightening energy first. And that is, in the outer world around us, we may be perceiving a lot of judgment. But those of us who are working with the light know better than to judge. And the higher end of enlightening energy is the energy to recognize and realize our ideals, our dreams, being able to see multiple perspectives at once, and to be able to envision how to harmonize them and make them come forward in a way that is full of light. So that's the energy that we move into on the 9th of March. And we'll be in that energy until just after the spring equinox.
Good, good. And, you know, it's really important, ladies and gentlemen, to remember that enlightenment is a destructive process. And, you know, it is. And we, you know, it's, you know, not all rainbows and unicorns. That is the consciousness that we hold, the rainbows and unicorns, but we have to be with the darkness of all of it that has been, you know, going on here for thousands and thousands of years. And we have to be with that also. And, you know, and that's how we bring that enlightenment into that dark, right?
It's the reason the unicorn has a horn on its forehead.
Mm-hmm. And there's Magical Pia. She's Alice. She is, yeah.
To tear down what no longer serves us.
Yeah.
And move forward.
Yeah. What about you, Colin? What is your wrap up for us?
Well, I think the idea of enlightenment is probably as misunderstood as it is understood. And I think that we've all become a little bit too serious about things. And I think utilizing something you said at the very beginning of this conversation, you talked briefly about laughter.
Yeah.
And laughter is extremely important right now, because there's so many things going on that seemingly are destructive or negative or absolutely non-essential in our evolvement or our enlightenment. And I think we have to use laughter and humor in its highest form, not sarcasm, not belittling humor, but humor and laughter to help buoy us up, because we have gotten to the state with all of these things that are controlling us.
Yeah.
We've lost the sense of lightness. And I don't mean just spiritual lightness. I mean actual physically bodily lightness. And it seems to me that part of our understanding of enlightenment is to lighten our load, lighten our attitude, lighten our perspective.
And let the light shine out from us to lighten others as well.
And I think this is so great because, you know, my next post that I had posted, I did exactly, I talked about that, Colin, what you just said, and that is to lighten things up, to bring light into it, to have to bring our essence back into a lightness of being, to, you know, even in my journal, laughing things off. I wrote it down. I wrote it down so I can remember, hey, you said you were going to laugh things. Hey, Kornelia, you said you were going to laugh things off. You wrote it down right here. You said you were going to, you were going to laugh. You were going to be the fool again.
Yes.
You were
Yes.
going to be the fool. And so, you were going to be Alice, you know, you were going to laugh things off. And so that time, I love that, Colin.
Well, it's important. When I say we've gotten too serious, I really do think and believe that seriousness is a good thing in some ways, but as the ego is a good thing in some ways,
Yeah.
probably too much of anything simply keeps us in an unbalanced state. And so if we can do our best to lighten up whatever's going on, whether it's through gratitude or thankfulness, or simply, as you said, lightening things up, I think that will help everybody feel that life is worth living and that we're going where we want to be going. And it's going to be a different experience. We're in a transitional phase right now.
That's the biggest word right now, is transition.
2021 is going to be one of the largest transitional places humanity has ever experienced. And all we have to do is get through it with an open mind and an open heart and get to the place. Well, that's not very good English. Get to the place. Arrive in the place where we're co-creating in a much lighter, in a much more beautiful way. So I think that's extremely important for all of us to remember.
Yeah, good. So we've got our courage, we've got our laughter, we've got our open heart, we've got our gratitude, and we've got the tools. We have the ability. We have the ability to be this energy. And so the enlightenment energy, what date is it on? March 9th?
March 9th. Comes in on March.
The beginning, right?
Comes in sunset of March 8th is what it starts, and we're fully in it by March 9th. The energy always changes at sunset.
And that's a 2-week cycle, Pia?
13 days.
13 days.
Yeah. So this is the time this month to be that energy, to really bring that lightheartedness, that light energy, and to match the vibration that is there. We match that vibration. And
Yes.
then that now we are in a cohesive harmony with each other, with the energy that's there and with what's going on. Now, it's not easy to do. We know this with all the judgment and everything that's happening in the world. But this is our time. This is our time to bring in this new way of living, this new way of being. And it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, everybody, for listening and for tuning in. The next time we come back, it's going to be April the 6th. And
Really, I wanted to just mention one thing before you close out the show. You mentioned briefly something at the very beginning about my new book.
Yeah.
And I want people going on and looking for the new book. It's not there yet. It's in press. It will be available sometime between equinox and the 1st of April, but it's in press, so it's not there yet in case people were piqued by that and curious.
Yeah, well, I definitely am looking forward to it. So I know you've had your nose to the grindstone, and you've been
The clouds is where I've been.
you have your head in the clouds. Yeah, good. Well, it's good. It's good that you mentioned that. But let's let the audience know where they can again look at any of your other. Are they still able to get calendars now, or what do you want to go ahead and give us that information?
Well, we have 2 websites. I'll let Pia explain.
The website with most of our Pleiadian work on it is larkma.com, spelled LAARKMAA.com. And you'll find the Larkma's trilogy there. You'll find the Pleiadian Earth Energy book there. You'll find the calendar, the Pleiadian Earth Energy calendar there. The other website is piaorleane.com, PIAORLEANE.com. And that's my ongoing energetic reports that happen every 13 days, the books that I have written. And it has some reference and interweaving to the Larkma site as well. So you can go from one site to the other pretty easily. So, also, the astrological work I do is on that site.
Yeah, both of the websites explain all of the things that we're involved with, all of the books that we've written, the calendars that we've designed,
The personal sessions
The-
that we offer.
all of the work that we do with our Pleiadian friends to help humanity. So both websites have a tremendous amount of information that will help people if they look the websites up.
We also have a YouTube station called Pleiadian Larkma YouTube with a lot of videos of things we've done.
Good. Well, there's so much information there that absolutely all the amazing work that you have contributed on this planet. I want to thank you so much for all the work that you do and
Thank you.
all of the hard work and the dedication I know that it takes. I wish I was closer to you guys. I wish we were, within walking distance. That would be nice. I'd
Yeah.
love to come over for a cup of tea and have you come over. It would be great to, be part of the community. Our community has been mainly online, and I'm hoping that, as we move forward, that we now build more communities in our hubs, that more communities come together. This is something that I'm really yearning for, physical expression to, like we said before, we talked about this, and that is looking in someone's eyes, giving
Yep.
them a hug. These things could make me cry right now, because that tenderness is still there, that emotion is there, that softness is there. And
Let's do our best to create that.
yes.
We will move in that direction, envisioning it happening. And before we sign off, I would just say, Kornelia, go do 6 impossible things before breakfast tomorrow.
It's so cute. It's so cute. Are you daring me, Pia?
I am. 6 impossible things before breakfast. You'll be amazed how easy it is.
Okay, well, that's cool. I like to be dared. I like to be dared. That's why sometimes, I think that if we were to say to humanity, I bet you can't do that inner work. I bet you can't do that, like that kind of thing, like that reverse psychology kind of thing, because, what can we do to, invite people into doing that inner work, that deep inner work, because it's so rewarding. Feels so good. Feels so good to be, to remember who you are. To feel so good to be working on that side, to be in that light, to be loved in the light, to live in the light, to love in the light, and to be nourished by the light. It feels so good to be in that space. And that is the ease and the grace in which to move forward. Thank you so much for listening and for tuning in. All of my work, you can check me out at CorneliaStephanie.com, or you can go to Cornelia Stephanie TV. We do weekly podcasts and YouTube, and so there's lots of information. There is no excuse for you not to get on with it and do that beautiful inner work, because all the consciousness, everything is there. It's all there for you. It's all there. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Pia and Colin. We'll see you again next time. Stay on with me before we go, and let me end the show. Thanks, everybody.